Plato's Timaeus, plain English rewrite. The Timaeus is the strangest, most ambitious, most influential, and most misunderstood of all Plato's dialogues. Written around 360 BCE, when Plato was in his late 60s, it is his attempt to do something no philosopher before him had attempted on the same scale, to give a complete rational account of the origin and structure of the physical universe, where it came from, what it is made of, why it is the way it is, and how human beings fit into the cosmic order. It is simultaneously a work of cosmology, theology, physics, mathematics, biology, psychology, and myth. It is the foundational text of what would later be called natural theology, the attempt to reason from the nature of the world to the nature of its maker. It directly influenced Aristotle's physics, the Stoic doctrine of the world soul, the Neoplatonist cosmological hierarchy, early Christian theology's concept of creation, medieval scholasticism's understanding of matter and form, and, through all of these channels, the entire subsequent history of Western thought about the relationship between God, mind, and the physical world. It was, for roughly 1,000 years, the only Platonic dialogue widely read in the Latin West, known through Cicero's partial translation and Chalcidius's 4th century commentary, which means that when Christian theologians tried to reconcile Greek philosophy with Genesis, it was primarily the Timaeus they were reconciling it with. The result is that many features of what most people assume to be Christian cosmology are actually Platonic cosmology filtered through the Timaeus. The idea of a rational divine craftsman who creates the world from a model, the idea that the visible world is an imperfect copy of a perfect intelligible original, the idea that the human soul is immortal and imprisoned in the body, the idea that the cosmos is itself alive and rational. None of these ideas comes from the Hebrew Bible. They come from here, from this strange and beautiful dialogue in which Plato puts the creation of the universe into the mouth of a Pythagorean philosopher from Sicily, who explicitly warns his audience that everything he is about to say is only a likely story, not certain truth, but the best rational approximation of something that exceeds the power of language to fully express. A guide before beginning. The setting and characters. The Timaeus begins in mid-conversation. Socrates is speaking with three men, Timaeus of Locri, Critias, and Hermocrates. A fourth person who was expected has apparently not arrived, we never find out why. Socrates is not the central figure here, which is unusual for Plato. He speaks briefly at the beginning, recapitulates the discussion they apparently had the previous day, which closely resembles the Republic, and then largely falls silent, listening, like everyone else, to Timaeus's great speech. Timaeus of Locri is described as an astronomer and statesman from Locri in southern Italy, a region associated with Pythagorean philosophy. He appears only in this dialogue. We have no independent historical evidence for his existence. He may be a fictional character created by Plato, or a real person about whom nothing else has survived. In either case, his function in the dialogue is clear. He is the voice of Pythagorean cosmology, which Plato is both drawing on and transforming. Critias is presented as a descendant of Solon and the person who will tell the story of Atlantis, the famous story that Timaeus's cosmological account is supposed to frame. The Critias dialogue, which follows the Timaeus and is unfinished, tells the Atlantis story in full. Hermocrates is apparently a Sicilian statesman, possibly the Hermocrates who was a general in the Peloponnesian War. He says very little in either dialogue. What was said yesterday? Socrates opens by summarizing what was apparently discussed the previous day, a description of the ideal city that closely parallels the Republic. He describes a city in which the citizens are divided into classes according to their natural aptitudes, the guardians own nothing personally, women and children are held in common, education selects for virtue and reason, the city is governed by philosophers. Having described this ideal city, Socrates says he wants to see it in motion, wants to see it acting, wants to see what it looks like when it engages with other cities, fights wars, demonstrates its virtues in action. The discussion of the cosmos that follows is, in part, meant to provide this context. The human city is embedded in the cosmic order, and understanding the cosmic order illuminates the proper structure of human society. The likely story, the most important caveat in the dialogue. Before Timaeus begins his account of creation, he makes a methodological claim that is absolutely central to understanding everything that follows. He distinguishes between two kinds of investigation. An investigation into what always is and never changes, the eternal, intelligible realm of forms, which can yield genuine knowledge, episteme. An investigation into what comes into being and passes away, the physical, visible world, which can yield only likely accounts or reasonable myths, eikos logos or eikos mythos. The physical world is a copy of an eternal original. It participates in truth without fully embodying it. Therefore, our accounts of it can only be copies to approximations, likelihoods, the best we can do given the nature of the subject. This is not false modesty. It is genuine philosophical precision. Timaeus is telling his audience, do not take what I am about to say as certain science. Take it as the most reasonable and coherent story that can be told about the physical world, a story that illuminates genuine truths without claiming to be those truths themselves. This caveat has been ignored by many of Timaeus's readers throughout history, who took his cosmological account as dogma. Plato, through Timaeus, explicitly warned against this. Why the Timaeus matters? The Timaeus asks and attempts to answer three questions that remain among the most fundamental in all of philosophy and science. Why is there something rather than nothing? Timaeus's answer: because the Maker was good, and goodness by its nature does not hoard itself. A good being shares what it is. Creation is the overflow of divine goodness. Why is the universe ordered rather than chaotic? Because the Maker is rational, and rational beings make things in the image of what they understand, and what the Maker understood was the eternal realm of mathematical and rational order. Why are human beings the way they are? Because they are the meeting point of the cosmic and the mortal, made of the same stuff as the world soul, given rational souls by the divine Maker himself, but embodied in matter that resists and distorts the rational order. These are not small questions. The structure of the dialogue. The Timaeus has three main sections. The proem and the work of reason, 17a or 47e, why the universe was made, the creation of the world soul, the creation of time, the creation of the heavenly bodies, the creation of human souls. The work of necessity, 47e, 69a, the receptacle, the medium in which the physical world exists, the nature of the four elements, the mathematical structure of matter. The work of reason and necessity together, 69a and 92c, the creation of the human body, disease, the senses, the lower parts of the soul, the role of women and animals, the proper conduct of life. Part 1. The work of reason. Why the universe was made. The proem. Before we begin, Socrates opened the discussion. Yesterday we talked about the ideal city, the best arrangement of human society, the right ordering of citizens according to their natures, the proper education of guardians, the proper role of each class. I summarized it for you and you agreed it was as I remembered it. But now I want to see this city in action. I want to see it moving, engaged with history, with other cities, with war and peace, with the full complexity of actual political life. To see a beautiful city at rest is one pleasure. To see it demonstrated in action, the way you might want to see a beautiful animal not only in a painting but moving, that is a greater pleasure. I feel unable to celebrate it adequately myself. The poets can do it, but poets work with imitation and are not at home with philosophy and science. The sophists do it, but sophists travel from city to city and have no home, no specific political reality that formed them and that they understand from within. But you, Critias, Hermocrates, Timaeus, you have the philosophical training and the political experience. You know both the theory and the practice. So I ask you to honor my request. I gave you my account of the ideal city yesterday. Now give me, in return, an account of what you know best, so that we can see the city in the full context of the cosmos that contains it. Critias said, we have been discussing how to respond to you since last night. Timaeus will go first, because he knows most about the nature of the cosmos. Then I will take up the story of the city of ancient Athens and its conflict with Atlantis. But first, Timaeus. Timaeus begins the fundamental questions. Timaeus said, let me start at the beginning. Let me invoke the gods, all the gods and goddesses, and pray that what I say will be acceptable to them and consistent with itself. I also want to invoke you, Socrates, as the most important element in this audience. And now, everything that exists falls into one of two categories. The first category, what always is and has no becoming. What is grasped by understanding with the help of reasoning. What is always the same. The second category, what becomes and passes away and never truly is. What is grasped by opinion with the help of sensation. What comes into being and perishes and is never the same. Everything that comes into being must come into being through some cause. Nothing comes into being without a cause. And here is the first great question. Was the cosmos always in existence, having no beginning? Or did it come into being, starting from some beginning? My answer, it came into being. You can see it and touch it and perceive it with your senses. Everything that is perceptible to the senses has come into being. Everything that comes into being has been made by some cause. What is the second great question? When the Maker made the cosmos, what model did he look to? Did he look to what always is and never changes? Or did he look to what has come into being? My answer, he looked to what always is and never changes, to the eternal, intelligible, unchanging model. Because the cosmos is beautiful and its maker is good. And no good maker who looks to an eternal model will produce a bad result. What this means. Timaeus is establishing the fundamental architecture of the Platonic universe before he says anything about what it contains. There are two realms, the eternal and the temporal. The eternal realm, the realm of forms, of mathematical truths, of intelligible structures, always is. It has no beginning and no end. It is grasped by reason. The temporal realm, the physical universe, came into being. It had a beginning. It is grasped by sense perception. The physical universe is not self-explanatory. It is a copy of an original. It was made. And the question of what it was made from and by whom and according to what model is the question the rest of the dialogue addresses. The assertion that the maker looked to an eternal model rather than a temporal one is not arbitrary. It follows from the goodness of the maker. A craftsman who is genuinely good wants to make the best possible thing. The best possible thing is the most fully real thing. The most fully real things are the eternal forms. Therefore the best possible cosmos is the one most closely modeled on the eternal forms. This is the foundation of what will become the Platonic tradition's account of creation. The universe is good because its maker was good, and it is rationally ordered because its maker looked to rational order as its model. The demiurge, the divine craftsman. Timaeus continued. Now I must tell you about the maker himself as much as we can know. He was good. He was, in fact, entirely free of jealousy. And because he was free of jealousy, he wanted everything to be as like himself as possible, as good as possible, as rational as possible. This is the most important thing I can tell you about why the universe was made. It was made because goodness does not hoard itself. The god, the demiurge, the craftsman of the world, took everything that was visible. It was not in a state of rest. It was in a state of discordant and disorderly motion. He brought it from disorder into order. He considered that order is in every way better than disorder. He made the cosmos beautiful and good because he is beautiful and good. Why did he make it living? Because he judged that a living thing is more beautiful than a dead thing, and that a living thing with intelligence is more beautiful than a living thing without intelligence. And intelligence cannot exist without soul. Therefore he put intelligence in soul, and soul in body. The cosmos is therefore a living creature with a soul, and it has intelligence. What this means? The demiurge, demiurgos in Greek, meaning craftsman or artisan, is one of the most important and most misunderstood figures in the history of Western philosophy and theology. He is not God in the full sense of omnipotent creator from nothing. He is something more specific, a rational mind that works with pre-existing materials, imposing order on what was disordered, bringing the cosmos into being by bringing form and ratio into matter. He does not create the materials. He does not create the eternal forms that serve as his model. He is a craftsman, brilliant, entirely good, completely rational, who takes what is there and makes something beautiful from it. The motivation for creation is simple and profound: goodness. Goodness shares itself. A truly good being cannot be satisfied with being alone in its goodness. It wants other things to participate in what it is. The cosmos is the result of divine generosity, the overflow of a goodness that could not be contained. The reasoning from living creature to intelligent creature to ensouled creature is Plato's. A living cosmos is better than a dead cosmos. An intelligent cosmos is better than an unintelligent cosmos. Intelligence requires soul, therefore the cosmos has a soul. This is the world soul, the most important and most radical of Timaeus's claims. The universe itself is alive, ensouled, rational, a single vast intelligent organism. The contrast with the Jewish and Christian creation traditions is significant. In Genesis, God creates by command, "Let there be light," and what he creates is distinct from himself. Plato's demiurge creates by imposition of rational order on pre-existing matter, and what he creates participates in his rationality. The cosmos is not merely the product of divine will, it is the expression of divine reason. The model, what the cosmos was made after. Timaeus continued. Was the model eternal or created? If the maker of this world was good, and he was, then he looked to the eternal model. The world is a living creature. What living creature was it modeled on? Not on any partial or particular living creature. It was modeled on the living creature itself, the eternal archetype that contains within itself all intelligible living creatures, just as the physical cosmos contains within itself all visible living creatures. Think of it this way: there is an intelligible, eternal, complete living creature, containing all the eternal types of intelligent beings within it. The physical cosmos is the copy of this, the most perfect possible copy of the most perfect possible model, made by the most perfect possible maker. The world had to be unique. There is only one eternal living creature itself. Therefore there is only one physical cosmos, its copy. The world had to be spherical. The sphere is the most perfect shape, containing all other shapes within itself. The maker gave the cosmos the shape most like itself, the most complete, the most self-sufficient, the most uniform. The world had to contain all of the four elements: fire, earth, water, and air, in perfect proportion. Fire so that it could be visible. Earth so that it could be tangible. Water and air as the means of bonding fire and earth together. And the bond that brings them together had to be the most beautiful possible bond, which is the bond of proportion, of ratio, of mathematical relationship.